Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back with another live stream of Hearthstone. So we have Requiem Reapers on the chat. He asks, what do I think of the new Dungeon Run mode? I think when I get to play it, I might actually like it, but right now, unless I am missing it somewhere, and I don't think it's out yet, so like we can't really make a fair decision on it until we see it, because it could be done really badly, or it could be the new thing of Hearthstone that just stays around forever and maybe replaces Tavern Brawl, or makes it a reason for people to every week go to solo adventure. It's at least a great idea on paper to allow them to include a lot of crazy cards that you couldn't include for multiplayer. And I like the idea of this card game having more of a solo player adventure elements, because it's really hard still to get people to show up and play you and be able to beat them. Like, I need 3 victories with the Priest right now, and I'm having trouble with the Tavern Brawl, and most of that has to do with just letting Blizzard build the deck completely. So let's start with that and start again. So the trick here was spells. So I just needed to have all of the spells. Like, that's, I really didn't need anything else too much. Mind Blast, Lifesteal, destroy minions. And see, I'm at 30 now. And see, that's a bunch of cheap spells. Let's just try that and see how that works. Of course, with the dungeon element, if they continue with it and they keep going down that road, there's also this opportunity to introduce cards, try them out, see if people like them, and then bring them over in the next expansion, or maybe bring over something that is slightly different in the next expansion. There is a PC Gamer article called What It's Like to Date a Popular Video Game Streamer. It's probably not a article really worth reading, but who knows, maybe if you're interested in that. Like, honestly, from what I've seen, anybody who makes a big deal about who they're dating on YouTube in general, not just video game streamers, but any kind of streamer, it doesn't seem very classy. It seems gross. It seems like you're using your significant other, and the only time I've really been okay with it is when it was 2 well-established streamers, or somewhat established streamers to begin with, that were separate and then got together. But then you get into the realm of potentially just having people date each other because it might improve their viewership for both of their channels. Like, from my perspective, I think if you were to date a streamer, you're gonna find that they work really hard and don't have a lot of time for you, and frankly, it's probably not a great relationship, or way to have a relationship happen. they have announced Lego Marvel Superheroes 2. I think they had already announced that, but it's going to be available the 14th. So in a couple days, PlayStation and PC. Wow, they're using a really old icon to indicate it's a PC game. Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Switch. And there's a pre-order for the Guardians of the Galaxy. I liked Lego Marvel Superheroes. I think they're cheating a little bit, however, by... interesting. Hold that. He lost the Divine Shield. It seems a little crazy that there was Lego Marvel Superheroes 1 and then there was Lego Marvel Avengers, because they kind of just reused the elements. I would recommend the Marvel Superheroes stories over the Avengers story, because one, you're just repeating what the movie had happened, and then the other you're doing something different. There we go. And this will be kind of funny if I immediately win as soon as I build my own deck. Good old games. I had the 3 Sierra classics from the 90s. Let's see what they are. Probably not worth playing an old Sierra game, but let's see. 1990s Rise of the Dragon, 1991's Heart of China, and 1995's Conquer AD 1086. 3 games I have never heard of. And that feels more like an advertisement from our friends PC Gamer than an actual article. Let's see. Destroy with something with 5 or more attack. Choosing a main menu. At the start of your turn, gain control of it. Can I do that on something that's stealth? No, I can't. Zynga has paid $100 million to buy Peak Mobile Games' mobile card and board game business. So there's probably some card games and board games that are going to be coming out under the Zynga title on your phone. Which, maybe that'll be a good thing, maybe that'll be a bad thing. Apparently, the Pokemon Go maker Niantic is working on a Harry Potter game next, which sounds insane. Why would there be any more Harry Potter games when that series is done with and there's just nothing more that you could really nothing more you can really do there. But there is some almost 100% confirmation that this is right, because WB Games has just made a new division called Potter Key Games. So WB, Warner Brothers, who owns the license, the game license to Harry Potter apparently, they're going to do something with it. And so we also, since we know that is a subdivision that's not under TT Games that make the Lego games, we know it's not going to be a Lego Harry Potter game again, which honestly there's already 2 Lego Harry Potter games. So that would make sense.
You're so sweet.
Yeah, I'm still very confused. Let's think about this. If you were going to make a Niantic style, Pokemon Go style game in the Harry Potter universe, you probably would want some special places in England to benefit you there, that idea, and you probably want to establish a lot more schools like Hogwarts all around the world, so that instead of having a gym, there's a school, and then you would just want a bunch of creatures like Pokemon. And I guess that would work. Like, if you're a huge Pokemon fan, at a certain point you're going to have way more Pokemon options or ideas than what you would have for magical creatures from the Harry Potter universe. But on the other hand, not all of the Pokemon have come to Pokemon Go, and they might be seeing a fact that actually, if all, what is it now, like 900 plus Pokemon were in Pokemon Go, it would just be too much to deal with. And that's why they're slowly bringing in some legendaries and some other characters from the other generations. And this it would certainly have a cross-branding idea. But that is also the most boring, obvious thing for them to do, is to simply bring in do Pokemon Go, but with Harry Potter characters. They may make a completely different game, and that would be slightly interesting if they went in a completely different direction and didn't just do the exact same thing over and over again. But that doesn't seem in line, because remember, before Pokemon Go, there was yet another game that, when Niantic was part of Google, I believe, that basically is just Pokemon Go without any of the Pokemon at all. So Pokemon Go is already a copy of one game, and I wouldn't be surprised if they continued out in that way. The closed beta signups for the PC version of Tokyo Xanadu EX Plus are now open. I haven't heard of this game, but there's so many Japanese games, like it'd be easy. Applications were closed November 12th. The PS4 version of Tokyo Xanadu EX Plus is due out in 2017. And the PC version hasn't been announced at all. The question, I guess, about this is this an MMO, or is this still have to win? Man, I am not getting any victories. Man, I'm doing so much of the silent post show because of these quests requiring victories, and I've lost some active people that wanted to play me and help me. Like, it was really, really helpful when people were coming on and saying, "Hey, I'll let you in." Yeah, I just don't know what this game is. Let's click on this link. Like, I don't know if they're just beta testing a single player game. All I can tell from the image is somebody's holding some Japanese anime character is holding a sword. That's about all I can tell from it. And that doesn't really mean much. Here's yet a third way to report the same information microtransactions now account for nearly half of Take-Two's revenue. So basically, Take-Two probably had a stockholders, shareholders meeting and had to divulge a bunch of information, because you can't lie to shareholders, otherwise you'll get sued, theoretically at least. And 3 different websites have reported it in 3 different ways, depending on what spin they want to put on there. Let's see. The company now expects to earn a net income of $63 to $91 billion on net revenues of $1.74 to $1.84 billion during 2018 fiscal years. Take-Two's reported the generally accepted accounting principle, which is actually not allowed. It shouldn't be allowed. It is allowed, but it shouldn't be. It's not realistic accounting, because it doesn't take into account like a lot of your expenses and losses. But even using the rigged numbers of the generally accepted accounting principles, they have lost $2.7 million in net profits on $443 million in net revenues during the 3 months ending September 30th. That's less impressive than the same period last year, where the company made $36.4 million on $420.1 million in net revenues the last year. So that's actually very bad. Here. Let's do this. Build that. And then that. And then play that. And then do this. And here we go. Now, if he finds a way to kill this guy, he'll end up killing most of my field. So I shouldn't have played a 1-mana spell, because it brought up this guy, who's going to be problematic. Let's see. Moving on, we really don't need to cover Take-Two's microtransactions being the only thing that makes a money idea. 3 different times, but that's pretty much all they focused on, and that's pretty much why they only made any profit there. PC Gamer has an article where Warren Spector discusses his cancelled Half-Life 2 Ravenholm episode, which frankly is probably not worth reading. Like, it's only gonna make you angry if you care, and if you don't care, why would you read it? To read anything more about Half-Life anything when you know it's not gonna get made. The SAG-AFTRA board members have voted to officially end the voice actor strike, which just goes to tell you how long it takes to get something done in a union. Like, because the strike committee and the negotiating committee have to come to an agreement, and then it has to be brought up at a board meeting, and that just takes time, which is inherently why most unions don't want to strike immediately. They get pushed into it by negotiations just completely breaking down with the companies they're negotiating with. So Like, negotiations certainly can happen before, years and years before a strike gets called in many instances. And that's pretty typical of how it goes. There's a game from HappyNet, H-A-P-P-I-N-E-T, never heard of that company, and Asakusa Studios called Dodgeball Rising for PC. 3-on-3 action. It's in early access on December 14th. I want to see if there's a trailer here because this looks funny. It looks like a bunch of samurais playing dodgeball. It's a dodgeball game set in the land of the rising sun. It's very Japanese, traditional Japanese, in its outer decorations. And I am not getting anywhere. And then the actual game is this side-scrolling 3-on-3 dodgeball game that it looks a little bit like Windjammers, the game that Giant Bomb is always talking about and playing. I don't know why they particularly love it so much. It must be really fun to play. So if you like dodgeball, if you like Windjammers, if you like crazy Japanese people throwing balls at each other, I don't think dodgeball is particularly a game that's played in Japan at all. I imagine people know it, but it's, you know, what probably it boils down to is that the Buddhist tradition is based around the idea of bringing things towards you, not pushing them away. And so even like their wood planers, when they're planing wood, they're different in Japanese. You pull the wood planers towards you, and you pull the blade towards you instead of pushing it away, which is how wood planer is everywhere else. I imagine that alone might influence why dodgeball isn't played. Oh, this sucks so bad. Let's see. Please play me in a tavern brawl and let me win. Oh man, seriously? You haven't even unlocked it yet? I'm not at level 20? I'm trash, sorry. Play me on a standard game. Then let's just try to get a victory here. Some kind of victory. So, Dodgeball Rising. Yeah, okay. It's not like we have a ton of dodgeball games out there. Square Enix apparently has some unannounced Switch titles that they talked about during their latest financial results briefing, which is to say they really didn't say anything. You can, they're really not giving much detail here. Like Dragon Quest XI Echoes of the Elusive Age sold more than 3 million units. Nier Automata sold more than 2 million, and Final Fantasy 15 is nearing 6.6 million. And that's kind of all that gets reported. Come on. I probably need to take out these low level spells and have higher level spells, which I'll do after this game, I guess, if I don't succeed. And the fact that I'm not really succeeding when I'm covering the news only multiplies and makes the muted post show, which is terrible in the first place.
You asked for it. The light shall
If
bring
it
victory.
didn't work, I wouldn't do it. But it sadly, YouTube is so messed up that the muted post-show helps the previous parts of the video get seen. It just does. It also helps with everything else. It helps the video get seen in total. Because I know it's not good quality content. Like, Hearthstone in general isn't the greatest of quality content.
Greetings.
Because there's nothing to say about this game that hasn't been said a million times over. I suppose I could try and repeat myself more often, but it's boring to repeat yourself. Let's see. Here's a list of sales numbers. I don't know if I really want to go through them though. I was debating this. Like, no, it's too numbery. Like, if you want to look, there's a weekly thing printed by. Why can't I silence this guy? It has to be a friendly person. Alright, how about we do this? Choose a minion. Make his attack equal to his health. Let's do that, and that. So yeah, if you want to see the direct numbers, go to Gematsu, GMATSU, and or search Media Create Sales and whatever, and you'll be able to find the latest ones, and they'll just tell you the breakdown of all the numbers. I can't really, even just looking at a list of all these numbers, see that there's too much to really mention. Like, I could say here that the Super Mario Odyssey is ranked lower than Call of Duty World War II by about 50,000 units. So, if you ever wonder. But then the next weird thing is .hackgu is ranked number 3. And this is probably in Japan. Not worldwide, because that doesn't seem like that would make any sense at all. Silence a friendly minion, draw a card. Let's see, do this. Do this. This.
The light protects me.
Do this. Do this.
As you wish.
Oh dear. Quickly.
Maybe I'll win here. Hardware sales, the Switch is outselling the PS4 in Japan, it seems. And see, all of this information they're saying they just got from 4gamer.net, but maybe they put it in a nicer list than they did. Maybe not. Yeah, and those have to be Japanese metrics, because some of these games would not be anywhere near the top 20 in the United States or the West. Let's see. And the Harry Potter game apparently that they're gonna make is called Harry Potter Wizards Unite. Let's see if there's anything specific. Let's hit that one out of the way and then play that.
Oh dear.
Let's see.
The better to eat you is.
Hit that,
I
that, and that. And attack there.
Well played.
It's called Port Key Games. I thought it was called Potter Key Games. Interesting. I guess at the end of the day, J.K. Rowling is just gonna license and license and license as long as people are willing to buy the license. She knows how to make money, undoubtedly. Here, watch this. We play this, then we do this. Yeah.
I fight.
Run away.
Job's done.
What is this game?
Well played.
Wow, this game seems to have everything in it. So there's a game called Death and Quest. Has all kinds of craziness about it. Like, they're showing pictures, they're talking about something called the Battle Jack system. I'm seeing a page here that looks like a visual novel / RPG. I'm seeing enemies, monsters. I'm seeing what looks like a fighting game and a shooting game. Yeah, actually it's labeled as that. There's a fighting game, there's a shooting game, there's a slot gambling game, all in the same thing. Well, I guess if you want to be the jack of all trades and the master of none, I guess that's, you can do that. Let's see, can we win here? This and that. Finally, victory. Finally. Like, and I want to get this stream today done because I just started playing Hellboy. I've been very slow. I'm really getting down to the point where I'm just gonna start saying next year I think I'm gonna, for the most part, take everything of every day of November and December off, like except for streams. Like, I'm not gonna do any pre-recording for 2 months because I'm just always so tired when it gets in winter. Seasonal affective disorder or something, I don't know, but I just don't get as much work done. And all 5 of those cards were extra, so they go into the dust. And now I can just play priest, and I'm trying to get more and more things to just be standard priest if I can get away with that. So I want to see what it would take to switch to a standard priest. Switch this guy over. So if I was to convert to standard, there's too many. That's too many to deal with. So we'll convert it back to wild. And we'll just play wild. We need 2 more victories, and then that's all I need for the Americas account. Very possibly everything on the European and Asian account are going to be done in the muted post show, because we don't have a ton of news here. Steins Gate Elite launches March 15th in Japan. Let's watch the trailer. I've heard of Steins Gate as an anime, but I don't know what it's about. And the names always do seem different. Let's see. I don't have a clue what's going on here. It looks like a visual novel, but the lips are moving and people are being animated. Did they take scenes from the anime and put it in the game? That would be interesting. That'd be something new. And frankly, that would fix half of the visual novels on Steam, because if you just reuse the animation. Alright. Looks like there's some either murder or murder mystery in this. Oh, is this the one where he can go back in time? Yeah, I think it is. So there's a couple of animes where you go back in time, but I think this is one of the ones where he can control it. And so somebody important to him gets murdered, he goes back in time and tries to stop the murder and investigate what happened. It's coming out for the Switch, the PlayStation 4, and Vita, and I'm going to be saying that a lot more. And see, that looks like it looks like a playable game that I could actually play on my channel. They're saying the game is a full animation adventure adaptation of the popular visual novel, which launched for Xbox 360 on October 2009. It features every second of the 24-episode television anime, as well as a number of newly animated endings that were not depicted in the TV anime. Oh my goodness, I have got to play that game. If that comes out to PC, that is one to play. Like, because then I can basically, if it's a 24-episode anime, that's 24 times about 30 minutes. That's a 12-hour game, a full animation that I can comment on and play. So yeah, that would be really cool. Speaking of anime, I'm probably in the section where it's all gonna be Japanese games. Is it wrong to try and pick up girls in a dungeon? Infinite Combat launches March 29th in Japan. A game based on an anime, certainly. What kind of game is it, though, I wonder?
You are the shadow's puppet.
I wish somebody was hurt so I could heal myself.
Job's done.
Now, the slight problem of playing a game based on an anime is that you could be shown a trailer based on the TV show, and then the video game could not include any of that, and it could just be some false advertising. And in this trailer, that's kind of what I'm seeing here. Is I'm seeing a lot of still animations of characters after it showed me the intro from the TV show. Yeah, it's actually, now that they're showing gameplay, it's actually just a 2D dungeon crawler game with chibi animated characters that don't even match what the show looks like. And
is someone injured?
It probably is just a dungeon crawler game that was made cheaply and easily. Sonic's Forces is awful, apparent, according to everybody I can tell. Or everybody that I hear even bothering to talk about it at all. And it's already been forced to patch itself to address a widespread crashing issue. Sonic's never gonna get it. Like, they probably didn't even have time to learn their lesson when they released Sonic Mania by which was basically a fan project, and it was really good. They probably didn't even have enough time to fix Sonic Forces at that point. The only thing, I guess, is if they had really gotten the message, maybe they would have not released Sonic Forces at all, but you can't just scrap a project you've invested money into. There's a game called Death Coming that you play a cunning Grim Reaper in this comedy puzzler. It's got that 8-bit aesthetic to it.
In the light's name.
guess maybe I could have killed this guy.
Do my bidding.
Apparently you're supposed to evade angels. Now, looking at the actual game, it seems like what you're doing is it's like a mobile game and you're just a hand that is causing disasters and causing people to die through accidents while angels are flying around looking, and so your hand can't be on any of the things. So there's been an instance here where you changed a stoplight and caused a person to get run over. There's been an instance where you cause a scaffolding on the outside of a window washers for a window washer to fall down. You know, it looks like it might be fun, but I'd have to wait for some reviews to make sure it's not just a fun idea that's been implemented poorly. Toe Jam and Earl Back in the Groove has been delayed to 2018. I thought that game had already come out and been forgotten. In general, I think there are fans of Toe Jam and Earl, but I think it doesn't really play and it's not actually that interesting of a game in gameplay mechanic wise. Let's see. Let's play this.
Warriors of the frozen wastes.
So maybe that's why it's delayed. It's being released or made by Adult Swim, and it was kickstarted. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's a way to revitalize Toe Jam and Earl, or make it popular in the first place. IO Interactive has confirmed that there's a new Hitman in the works, and the Game of the Year edition and Elusive Targets are out. So the question, I guess, when you think about this is, what is Square Enix doing these days now that IO Interactive is no longer a part of them? So here's the story about Telltale. Telltale Games, we had read, just had a job listing for a new engine designer, but a couple weeks later, they have laid off 90 of their employees, which is 25% of their workforce, which laying off, massive layoffs of any amount is demoralizing. Even laying off like one person or firing one person can desperately change the morale and the dynamic of your workers. So you sort of don't care that much, but particularly when you're in a creative industry, it's not a great thing to fire people. It is also, however, the way things just happen in the video game industry. Is you just fire people after projects are done. The idea here that they've said is, quote, the decision came as a result of the studio's efforts to make itself more competitive as a developer and publisher of groundbreaking story-driven game experiences, with an emphasis on high quality in the years ahead. Which, I mean, if you want to stick your head in the sand and be overly optimistic, maybe the 90 employees that got fired were the 90 employees that could not learn to program in like Unity instead of the Telltale tool, and that was why they had to go, because there was literally no
In the light's name.
there was no more room for them in the new idea and path that they're gonna go down, because they're either making a new Telltale tool or they're going to Unity. Now, I heard somebody say that one of the board members of Telltale actually works for Unity too, so it seems like that would make sense. I mean, they might go to Unreal too, and that job listing more implied that they were going to improve the Telltale tool instead of abandon it completely. And it is worth pointing out that Telltale games in particular probably wouldn't work that great in Unreal or Unity. They're going to need a lot of help and a lot of programming because they're doing something very different than your standard run and gun shooter game, which is more along the lines of an Unreal game and even a Unity game.
Flames consume you.
Maybe in a week we see Telltale lays off another large amount of people. Maybe this was just the right time since they weren't announcing anything else, that they thought maybe this would go unforeseen. Maybe they just needed to get this done before the end of the year. So, I mean, it's pretty typical, but it's also pretty crappy to fire people right before Thanksgiving, right before Christmas. It's not nice, certainly, but it's also not unheard of either. You hire in January, you fire in December, just to make budgets. Like, I don't think this inherently spells the doom and gloom of Telltale, because if they were going to fire everybody and just shut down, then I don't know why you would do it piecemeal. And I don't know if you would do it like this.
The light shall bring victory.
Maybe they're thinking they work better as a smaller company, which is probably true because they got really, really big and hired probably way too many people after The Walking Dead Season 1 was very successful. But, I mean, really all you can do is make a bunch of excuses. Still, people lost their jobs. Hopefully they saw it coming and they made preparations, but very often people don't see it coming. Next story, GTA 5 is the best-selling video game of all time in the US, which I thought it was for a long time. It has been that for a long time. What did it beat? GTA 4? What was the old one, I wonder? This article doesn't seem the same. A company called Toys for Bob is hiring an Unreal software engineer. Let's go through. Let's actually leave that one and not talk about it.
Face the light.
Valve apparently wants you to video yourself playing with your Steam controller and give it to them. So, if you would like your video to be considered, please post a link here. Preferences will go to videos that utilize trackpad and gyro configs. We're looking into making highlight videos of the Steam controller in action shooter games to be included in the store page. Wow. So they're trying to cheaply make content without paying people. Interesting. Interesting strategy. I don't think it's gonna work as well as Valve thinks. Mostly because I don't think that many people are that gung-ho on using the Steam controller. It's kind of a mess of a controller. Like, even for other uses, if you need to play a game that requires a PC and mouse, I still wouldn't want a Steam controller. It really doesn't make any sense in my head. If we do this, then I can do this, and I can do this, and then I can do that. There we go. Somebody did a Fallout 4 mod where they turned Mirror's Edge, well, they made it look like Mirror's Edge, and it seemed to have the same parkour elements as Mirror's Edge. And so you're like in the Fallout 4 universe, and it looks like the Fallout 4 engine, but you're still being able to run around. I wonder if there was just some compatibility. Like, I would have thought it would have been the exact opposite direction, honestly. I would have guessed you would have taken the skins of the models of Fallout 4 and put it in Mirror's Edge so that you have the quick movement and running, but I guess maybe both companies are using the same technology, so it's easy enough to port over the skin of the, what is her name? I even forgot what her name was in Mirror's Edge. It's a YouTube video and it's kind of worth watching, but it doesn't really mean anything. Wolfenstein 2's first DLC is a teaser for more DLC, so episode, what was it called? Episode 0. And it seems like it has a little bit of gameplay in it, but it's barely 21 minutes. So if somebody had to buy a if somebody bought a, what would it be, the season pass, and this is what they got as one of their 3 bits of DLC, I think you would have a very big right to be upset. Yeah, on the Giant Bombcast yesterday, they were talking about Wolfenstein 2, but they kept refusing to actually talk about Wolfenstein 2 and give any spoilers, and I'm like, look, just have that conversation and cut it out of your podcast, or since they probably were streaming live, just say, look, we'll talk about it for 20 minutes and spoil it, and if you don't want to hear spoilers, skip ahead, or don't listen, or mute for the next 20 minutes. But they went around in circles several times just saying, should we spoil this? Should we spoil this? And I'm like, man, you're not having a conversation. You're wasting time right now talking about whether you should spoil something when you should just have spoiled it and been over with it.
Pain or suffering, I can't decide.
Let's see. The Evil Within 2 update targets PC specific problems, so if I ever get around to playing Evil Within 1, then that'll probably run pretty nicely, and then I'll probably by that point have plenty of time to play the Evil Within 2, and I'm sure all the patches that are needed to be made will be out at that point. There's an article in Gamer Sutra about the benefits and drawbacks of designing an RPG maker. Honestly, from my perspective, they're all drawbacks. The Steam is just flooded with bad RPG Maker games to the point where it's ruined the it's ruined the credibility of any game that looks like that in my mind. I don't do this for really any other type of games, but if I see an RPG Maker game, it's so obvious that it's an RPG Maker game, it's so that I can just immediately dismiss it and won't play them at all. Let's see, Nuclear Throne's final update is now live, which is to say they're not going to do anything more with Nuclear Throne. It wasn't a hugely popular game anyways, so that's not super surprising. There's a new Humble Bundle sale too that I got. Let's see. Apparently Neo's brightness slider is confusing. And the person trying to use it doesn't seem to know what they're doing. Let's see. Well, you know, if I just do this, and this. I'll win. Let's see if we can get the rest of these articles. There's another job. I'm gonna save those for Friday. Apparently Neo's PC port is sloppy. Like, it kind of had to happen that way. I mean, it's to be expected. If you're gonna get the Japanese to make PC games, you know the first few years are gonna be rough, and I think that's very much the case. So we got all of the Americas done. Let's switch over and just show off what we're gonna do in the silent playthrough, silent post show. Clearly, we have to do a arena run. There's a game called Sand Castles where you build a sand city and then watch it fall to bits. There's a free browser version or a downloaded $3 version on itch.io. So I can't even trade things, so I need to get like victories with the Warlock, and I'll probably get both of those done and then do the Tavern Brawl. We can go ahead and open this card pack. Now getting gold here, if I got a golden legendary, this again would be very useful. Like, but on the European account here, the idea is certainly to just turn it to dust again. Golden. And let's see if we can just turn all the new ones into golden. Disenchant that for 100 dust. And then disenchant that for 100 dust. I mean 50 dust. Disenchant that for 50 dust. A lot of these goldens that you're seeing are basic cards, so I can't do anything with them. Disenchant that for 50 dust. And disenchant that. And that puts me at a interesting point. We also apparently have some extra things that we can disenchant. So if I type in now just common, and let's adapt like a newer idea here of crafting common, I guess classic cards still. So if we come over here and we don't have 2 of a common card, I think we create it. And we're not going to even be able to do too many at that rate. And there probably is something that would make a lot more sense than doing that, but I don't know what it would be right now. And see, I have enough to make one more. and that's it. Yeah, let's see. Let's mark these new things as no longer new. New Blade Fury, new cards there. So I'm still missing a lot, and normally I would have gotten just comments I hadn't gotten before, but at this point I think getting some classic comments and being able to even be at a point where you can start to think of making some decks starts to make a lot more sense. But I don't know. It's hard to even get a good feel of what I'm supposed to do. I think I'm already at rank 20 on something, and that is our third element to this, is I'm still trying to get to rank 20, I guess, on the Asian account. So yeah, in the post show we're going to be playing Warlock, trying to get a Tavern Brawl on the European server, and then when we come over to the Asian server, let's see what we've got to do there. That's a shame that this Sandcastles game is just an itch.io game, browser game, because it actually looked kind of interesting. It has an idea that's slightly interesting to start off with. And there's a game called The Siege and the Sandfox, which is a Stealthvania game. When is that coming out? It's a new indie game that... Do we have any idea? There's no telling when it will be available, so we don't know. Apparently that game Bomber Crew that someone suggested to me has earned $1 million in its first week, and a bunch more stuff is on the way. I watched somebody play it on YouTube, and I see why people would like it. Yep, this one needs to get to rank 20 still. But now on the Asian account, I'm gonna keep all of the goldens, and in this instance I've gotten 3 rares but no epics, no legendaries. Blizzard would have to hand over a lot more packs like that to give us just all goldens, if they want more people to play goldens. See, I need to play 30 Murlocs on this one, and I could probably make a Murloc deck and get 2 victories with maybe the Paladin, maybe the Hunter, maybe the Druid, maybe even, yeah, any of those would probably work too. And so now I'm on the Humble Strategy Simulation bundle. That's the new one that's out. It has Rebuild 3, Gangs of Deadville, which I kind of like that game. It's always been a little expensive, if I recall correctly. And then Plague Inc. Evolved, if you beat the average. That's Train Simulator 2017. I bet somebody will like those. Some of these are just simulators. Out of the Park Baseball 18. Simple Planes, Mad Games Tycoon, and if you spend $10 you'll get City Skylines, and I would say probably skip that. Like, usually these humble bundles are not worth the top of the line one. And if there's any more news that just popped up right now, like, I guess I can scroll through my Twitter, but I'm not even really covering the news that I'm not covering, so so yeah, I think we're done. We're about 20 minutes over anyways. So that's gonna be it for this talking part of this stream. I've made 2 episodes, which is fine. That's, yeah. We're moving on to the silent post show. A Wednesday. At this point, I'm starting to think getting even 2 or 3 people to talk on the chat is getting more and more difficult. And I think YouTube may have tweaked the algorithm again, and where once I was getting new people, now I'm not. That's going to be it for this recording. Stay tuned for the post show. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.